Jamie, I'm broke as a joke and I want to start a business to provide for my family. What do I do?
Well, that's what we're going to find out today, guys. Buckle up. What's happening, everybody? Jamie Stark
And Brett Clausen coming to you here.
from the terrific 2 Studio in Fremont, Nebraska. So, welcome, guys. It's a beautiful Friday afternoon, and today we're going to talk to you about how to finance your business and get your business idea rolling. So, lots of different ways to go about it. Let's start with the simple ones, and then on the main one, we're going to break down exactly how to go about doing that. So,
Absolutely.
Let's take it away.
Well, the first thing is obviously if you have the cash to start up your business, that would be the number one option. If you can lay down your cash, that'd be preferably the way to do it. But what's the second way, Jamie?
Yeah, so if you don't have the cash, you don't have enough cash, say, the next way to do it would be to partner with an investor. And there are a million different ways to structure this, but if there's somebody that has the cash that would get the business going, you could go and sell them on the idea. Now, the drawback to that is going to be you're going to have to give them equity in your business. So, you know, if that's a valuable thing to you and you want to keep all the equity, or if you have a partner where you want to make sure that you're 50-50, like us in our businesses, then, you know, that limits your ideas for an investor. So if you don't want to go that route, then there's some other ways.
Can I throw in one thing just to think about too a little bit?
Yeah.
When you're considering adding a partner, you always have to think about disbursements as well. And this is something you legally have to do. It's a national law. Say you take a disbursement for $1,000 and you own 90% of the business, and you have a business partner that owns 10% of the business. By law, you have to take 900, and your business partner or investor would have to take 100. So that is definitely something to think about as well.
Yeah. It's just a way of dividing the income, and be the same if you retained the earnings in how that gets disclosed on, say, for an LLC on your K-1 form, as it's a pass-through entity, which if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. But yeah, you basically have to claim whatever ownership percentage of the income of the company on your personal tax return if it's a pass-through entity. So, more ways to fund your business.
Yeah, borrow from friends and family, and this is something we have done. I will say this.
Yes.
There is definitely a different layer from when you borrow from your friends and family than when you borrow from a bank.
Yes.
If that is going to cause an emotional strain between you and your family, if you're not 100% sure it's going to work, if you don't have the exact layout, projections and everything, don't even think about your family or friends, because I would much rather be in debt to a bank, where if it goes south, I mean, obviously that's terrible. But if it goes south with your family or your friends, that is going to add a different layer that you probably don't want to mess with. So
if your mom and dad sign the house as like collateral on a business loan and your business fails, guess what? Your parents are living with you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's definitely unneeded stress. So if at all possible, we highly caution going this route. But like we said, we did it. So
we did it and it worked out.
It's what we had to do to make it work. And so when you're all in, you're all in.
Right.
So the next way would be, and this is another way of that we don't recommend, but if absolutely needed, you can take out personal loans. There are a couple of different places to do it, lots of different places to do it. You can go to any bank and get a personal loan. And there are a couple of websites as well. One's called Prosper, one's called Upstart. Or you could even use credit cards to finance your business up front. All of these strategies I would highly caution against. The main reason is you're going to be paying outrageous interest rates, and usually the terms on those lending are going to be a lot shorter. So they're going to be very, very expensive in order to service that debt and to pay the interest / some of the principal on that debt. It's going to be very, very costly up front, so you would need a lot of cash flow to really make that work. But again, we've helped people start businesses that have actually went this route to kind of tie up, you know, maybe they had 90% of the funding, they maybe needed another, you know, $5,000-$10,000. And this is the way that they kind of tied up those loose ends to make sure that they had enough funding.
Right, which I know we've both done this before, but honestly, if you have halfway decent credit, you can probably walk in to get a personal loan for about $5,000, maybe even $10,000.
Oh, yeah.
And it might only take an hour or two to do that. So it's not terribly difficult to get a personal loan in my experience. But it is, again, it's probably not the first option that I would choose.
And the reason the interest rates are so high on personal loans most of the time is because there's no collateral to back them up.
Right.
So, you know, if they default, you're gonna have a huge hit.
And the next way that you can find funding is actually economic development loans and grants. And Jamie, take it away on that one.
You bet. So we've done this for a couple of our businesses now, actually both of the gyms that we own. And so we've gone through economic development. There are economic development platforms in most cities, sometimes in states, sometimes in counties. So it really depends. We've gone a couple of different routes. We've got a couple of grants through economic development, and we've got a couple of actual loans through the economic development.
Right.
The nice thing about those is a lot of times economic development loans are 0% interest. We've got one economic development loan that's on a 3-year term, and after 2 years of making our payments, that'll be forgiven. So they're really, really attractive programs, and obviously grants is obviously the best way. And depending on your business model, you can qualify for a lot of different grants. There's a lot of agricultural grants out there. So if you can tie things in for specific purposes, you don't have to pay back grants. There may be extra paperwork involved with that. So that would be one of the first places that I would go if you don't have the startup cash. And even if you do have enough cash, it's worth checking into economic development to see if you can find some quote unquote cheap money,
Right.
To either start your business or to help, kind of finance it along. So.
Right. And the last way is obviously from a bank, and if all possible, this is probably the number one way I would say, maybe even over top of cash, honestly, in some situations.
Yeah. Don't let Dave Ramsey let you hear that.
Right.
So.
And honestly, you just got to make sure when you're going to a bank, you have to be very prepared, because if you walk in there, first impressions are a lot of, honestly, everything.
Yep.
So if you walk in there without a business plan, without number projections or anything like that, they're going to look at you sideways and you're never going to have a shot with them again.
Oh, yeah.
So, and another thing that I'll say based on our experience as well, and I got a quick story too, you're probably going to have to talk to more than one bank to find the correct bank. What did we talk to? Probably between 10 and 15 before we actually got?
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, before
I was
we
telling
got
people about a dozen, so.
about a dozen?
Yeah.
Fair enough. And quick story on that one too, it was actually one of my hometown banks that we went to, and honestly, so if anybody watches it from that bank, no hard feelings, but my main banker was actually out of town at the time, so we actually went to them, gave them our business plan, projections and everything, and we had some collateral and money up front and everything too, so we came in with a full plan, and it happened to be our banker, my banker's brother was actually there, so they were business partners, and he literally, after we got done pitching him for about a half hour, looks at us and he said, there is no way that any bank would ever do this. And we looked at him, and I was trying not to be rude, but I was like, well, we just got back from a different bank that said they would do it. We were just checking to see if you would do this for a better interest rate. So I know that puts a little bit of a chip, I think, on both of our shoulders.
You bet. You talk about adding fuel to a fire, that'll do it. So, banks, obviously, Tim Rexius, our president and CEO of one of our franchises, he always recommends, and I would agree with him on this, to actually go to smaller banks, community banks, because if you go to like these huge banks, it's going to be really, really difficult, and it's going to be highly bureaucratic. Your process is going to take longer most of the time, and there are exceptions, so I don't like paint with a broad brush, but and then to add to this, another route that you could go, something I don't know a lot about because we haven't gone this route, but there are potential SBA loans. SBA stands for Small Business Association. I don't know exactly how to go about getting those. I think your bank can actually help you apply for them. Maybe economic development directors can help you apply for them, but SBA is another route that you could check out. And I know there are added restrictions with that, as with any other government-funded type of program.
Based on the very little that I know, that I check out just a little bit, I think the process for that can be a little while. So expect to be a little bit time-consuming.
Yep. So as far as getting a loan from a bank, like Brett said, you have to walk in there with posture. So walking into a bank and asking for a loan, if you're even a little bit unsure about your business idea, that's going to be projected on full blast. So you have to be 1,000,000% confident in your idea, and not just your idea, your business plan, but also in yourself. So it is a sales job walking into a bank and asking for money.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that would be the main things we wanted to cover. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out. If we need to do a follow-up video to answer extra questions, we definitely will. But otherwise, thanks for watching.
Go make some money.